I had recently moved into a new house after just getting a divorce. I was moving boxes into the new house and was bringing boxes down into the basement. I noticed when I went down into the basement there was a small box in the corner that apparently had been left behind by the previous owner. I went over and looked at the box, and it was just an ordinary box. There was no writing on it, no markings or anything like that. I decided to open the box. When I opened the box, the only thing that was in it was this small red bell. I don't know what it was about this little red bell. There was something about it that just for some reason caught my attention. So I decided to take the bell out of the box and bring it upstairs. I brought it upstairs and I just left it on the counter in the kitchen. I left the bell on the counter and didn't really think anything much of it. There was so much other stuff going on, moving all the things I had to move in to the new house. There was a lot of things I had going on after the divorce and transitioning into a new job and moving into the new house. So I left the bell right on the counter and kind of forgot about it. A couple nights go by after getting everything settled in. I was laying in bed one night when I hear the bell. For some reason, I just hear one ring of the bell. I decide to go downstairs and see what's going on. When I get downstairs, I see that the bell is laying on the floor. I figured maybe it just had somehow fallen off the counter and hit the floor. I was just assuming that when the bell hit the floor, that's when I heard it. I heard the ring from the bell when it struck the floor. Didn't really think much of it. Just figured somehow it had just fallen off the counter. I put it back on the counter, and then I just went upstairs and went back to bed. I never heard the bell anymore that night. It was a pretty peaceful night. Nothing out of the ordinary. I'd only been there for a couple nights in this new house. Nothing else strange had happened. The next night, I was laying in bed again, and I heard the bell go off again. I thought that maybe, again, it had somehow slipped off or fallen off the counter. I thought it was kind of strange for this to be happening again, because I had never figured out why it had fallen off the counter the previous night. But I just kind of brushed it off. But when I heard it again the next night, I definitely started to think that there was possibly something going on. Went downstairs to check to see what was going on. This time when I went downstairs, the bell wasn't on the floor. The bell was still on the countertop. I thought it was strange that the bell was ringing, but there was no one in the house but me. I didn't have any animals or any pets that could have possibly hit the bell. It was definitely strange, because this time the bell was still on the counter. It wasn't on the floor like it had been the previous night. Definitely freaked me out a little bit. But again, I just tried to brush it off, and I decided to put the bell back in the box that I had found it in, and I put it back in the basement, back in the same place I had found it in the basement, right in the corner. The next afternoon, I had come home from work. I put my keys on the counter, started getting ready to relax after a long day of work. Then all of a sudden I start hearing this banging sound coming from the basement. It almost sounded like somebody was was hitting or punching the wall or the floor. I just kept hearing it over and over again. At first I thought maybe somebody had broken in and had gotten in the basement. So I went down into the basement, waiting to see someone possibly going through my belongings in the basement. I went down in the basement, looked around, didn't see anything. None of the windows had been broken or tampered with. Everything looked normal. Nothing was out of place. Nothing was damaged. And I didn't hear the banging sound anymore. Later that night, I was laying in bed, trying to fall asleep, and I start to hear the same banging sound again. It was the same exact sound that I had heard when I had come home from work. It was the same sound. It was coming from the basement again. I went downstairs, opened the basement door, and started to walk down the steps into the basement. When I got to the bottom of the steps, I saw the box that had the red bell in it. The box was just sitting on the bottom step. I didn't know what to think. I was so confused. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't hear the banging sound anymore either. My mind was definitely racing. I'm just trying to piece all this together, try to figure out a reasonable explanation for why all this is happening. I lived in different houses before, different apartments. I had never had anything paranormal happen before. This was a new experience for me. I had heard about things on TV and in movies and on the internet, but I had never knew anyone who personally had a paranormal experience, and I myself, I had never had any type of paranormal experience happen to me. So this was all new to me. This was something I couldn't figure out. I didn't know what to do. I was confused. I just picked up the box and put it back in the corner where I had left it. In my mind, trying to figure out a reasonable explanation for all of this, and trying to, in my own mind, figure out what could have possibly been going on. I thought maybe I had forgotten to put the box in the corner. Maybe I accidentally left it on the step when I was doing something else and thought that I had put it in the corner. Thinking back, I was sure that I had put the box in the corner. I knew that I didn't put that box on the bottom step in the basement. I put the box back in the corner. Then I went upstairs and went to bed and tried not to think about it. I just remember laying in bed that night, trying to piece everything together, but at the same time, try not to think about it, because I had to get up for work the next morning. And when I lay in bed, tossing and turning, thinking about what maybe could possibly be going on in my house. The next morning, I woke up, started getting ready for work, came downstairs, and I noticed that the basement door was open. And again, I was pretty sure that I shut the basement door when I had come up the night before. Again, I just brushed it off and thought to myself, maybe I had forgotten to close the door all day at work. It's hard for me to concentrate. Just kept thinking about that red bell. Kept thinking about what was going on in this house, why all these things were happening. I thought maybe I was just under a lot of stress because I was in a transitional phase of my life and thought that maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Maybe things weren't really happening the way I was perceiving them. I came home from work that day. Everything was pretty normal. I went and got in bed that night. As I'm laying in bed, again, I hear the bell. I go down in the basement, and I see that the bell is on the floor. It looks like it had been knocked over. The box had been tipped over, and the box was open, and there was the bell laying on the floor. I put the bell back in the box, put it back in the corner, and went back to bed. Maybe about 30 minutes go by, and I hear the bell again. I go downstairs to see what's going on. But before I can get to the basement, I see that the bell is in the kitchen. I walk into the kitchen and the bell is right there on the floor in the kitchen. I didn't see the box. I just saw the bell right in the middle of the floor. And this really blew my mind because I know that I put that box in the corner with the bell in it. I didn't bring the bell upstairs. I didn't leave it in the kitchen. I know for sure that bell should have been in the box in the basement. So I take the bell back down to the basement, and I go and put the bell right back in the box. Close the box up, and then headed upstairs to go back to bed. As I'm coming up the stairs, I got this strange feeling, almost as if someone's watching me. I just kept going toward the bedroom. I just remember walking down the hallway. I walked into my bedroom, and the bell was sitting on my bed. I was so scared. I didn't know what was going on. I just couldn't even comprehend how the bell had gone from the basement all the way up to my bedroom. I remember being so scared, so freaked out. I grabbed the bell. I remember running downstairs, and I went into the garage and I put the bell in the trash can. I closed the lid of the trash can and went back inside and went back upstairs to bed. I'm laying in bed. Maybe about 15 minutes go by, and I can start to hear the bell ringing again. This time the bell is ringing over and over again. Before, I would only hear it ring once. Now it sounds like somebody's ringing the bell constantly, just over and over again. It just keeps ringing and ringing. I go downstairs, and when I go downstairs, I get to the kitchen, and I see that the bell is back on the counter. I just, in my head, try to figure out what was going on. I thought that maybe I had not put the bell in the trash in the garage. Maybe I was sleepwalking, and I thought I put it in the garage. I don't know. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I knew that there had to be some type of explanation for what was going on, but I just couldn't grasp the idea of the fact that this was something that was paranormal that was happening. I just kept thinking to myself that maybe I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing when I was moving the bell, or when I thought I put it in the trash. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I had only put it on the counter, or thinking I had put it in the trash. I mean, I was felt like I was starting to go crazy. I decided to just leave the bell right on the counter and try to go back to bed, and I was going to figure it out in the morning. I turned around, started to walk back upstairs, and I heard a strange noise. I turned back around to see what it was, and the bell was literally on the ceiling. I looked up and there the bell was. It was on the ceiling, and as if it was laying on the flat countertop. I just stood there in shock. I couldn't even comprehend what was happening. I mean, I was completely frozen. I didn't know what to do. And within a matter of seconds, the bell falls from the ceiling. It falls from the ceiling and just slams to the floor. I was scared to death. I ran upstairs. Didn't even worry about trying to put the bell back in the basement or in the garage or the trash or anything. I just ran back upstairs, ran right up to my bedroom. I got in bed and I could hear the bell ringing again. It just kept ringing over and over again. I took my pillow and tried to cover my ears. I tried to act like I wasn't hearing it, but I know I was. It just kept getting louder and louder. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I mustered up the courage to go downstairs. So I went downstairs, and as I got to the bottom of the steps, right before the kitchen, the bell stopped ringing. I walked into the kitchen, and the bell was just laying on the floor, right where it was before I'd run up the stairs. I went from being scared and afraid to being angry. I just remember thinking to myself, I've got to destroy this bell. I grabbed a hammer, took the hammer and just started beating the bell, trying to break this thing. The sound of that bell ringing over and over again, it was driving me insane. I thought if I could break the bell, at least it wouldn't ring anymore. I took the hammer and I started hitting the bell over and over again, trying to break it, but I wasn't even putting a dent in it. I was hitting that thing as hard as I could. I just couldn't break it. I realized I wasn't going to be able to break the bell, but this bell was definitely beginning to break me. I decided to take the bell, put it back in the box, and put it back in the basement where it was before. I didn't hear the bell go off anymore the rest of that night. Over the next few days, every once in a while, I would hear the bell once or twice. But it was nothing like it was that one night. That night, it just kept ringing over and over again. The night I saw it on the ceiling. A few weeks go by, and I can hear the bell every so often. I'd come downstairs and I wouldn't see anything. I'd go down to the basement and the bell would still be in the box. It wouldn't move like it had moved before. It always stayed in that box in the corner after that. And it wasn't ringing quite as much. But every once in a while, I'd be laying in bed or sitting on the couch watching TV, and I'd hear a ring from the bell. It was almost like I'd just kind of gotten used to it. After a few weeks had gone by, this woman knocks on my door. She tells me that she's the previous homeowner and that she thinks she may have left the box in the basement. This woman told me that she had been looking for this box for the last few weeks after she had moved into her new house, and she couldn't find it. She realized that she had possibly left it at the old house, which was the house I was now living in. She explained to me that in this box there was this red bell that her grandmother had given her when she was a child. She explained to me how important it was to her and how significant it was because her grandmother had passed away many years ago. I told the woman that I had the box with the bell and that it was in the basement. I went and got the box and gave it to the woman. I was debating on whether or not I should tell her the experiences that I was having. Felt it was something I needed to do to kind of get it off my chest. I told her about the experiences that I had had, and she explained to me that she had similar experiences with the bell right after her grandmother had passed away. Once I had given the bell to the woman, I never had any other paranormal experiences in that house. I'll never forget those moments, those times I had, those paranormal experiences that I had. I've now moved on into a new house, and I've never had anything like that ever happen to me in my life. I truly believe that woman's grandmother was somehow in a way trying to get me to realize that bell belonged to the previous owner, and that I needed to somehow get in contact with her so that the bell could be given back to her.